Good morning. I'm Daniel Dalp, and this is For Your Sunday Morning Drive, a short podcast designed to help put us in a Colossians 3:2 mindset and focus our minds for worship on those hectic Sunday mornings. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way up top, because nobody likes announcements. Again, just want to say thank you for deciding to spend some time with me this morning. I hope it's beneficial, I hope it's helpful, and I hope the podcast has been useful for you and your family. If you could, and if you feel inclined, please give us a share to someone you think might enjoy the podcast or might benefit from it. And if you can, leave us a rating and review wherever you listen. That would really help us grow, and it would be much appreciated. There are several ways you can reach out to us at the podcast. I won't waste your time listing off all the social media handles and stuff. You can find those in the show notes on every episode. Again, I hope you're having a great morning. Let's get to it. This is episode 3, the rest of the story. Let's go to church.
Are we there yet?
Do you remember that old Paul Harvey segment, The Rest of the Story? Younger listeners probably don't, because I guess I'm ancient now. But man, what a legend. I remember listening to Mr. Harvey when his program would come on the radio. You know, sometimes I was on the way home from school, and sometimes I was riding in my dad's truck. But whenever his program came on, I always found it really interesting, because it always highlighted true stories, but ones that had a really unexpected ending. And at the end of each story, he would close and he would say, and that's
the rest of the story.
Sometimes we sing the old song, Tell Me the Story of Jesus. And we know that that story ultimately ends in triumph. That man finally has a savior, that death and sin find its defeat. But you know, what if? What if, for instance, we just stopped reading the story halfway through? That'd be a pretty depressing story, right? For instance, what if we stopped reading at Matthew 26:56 when all the disciples fled following the arrest of Jesus? Or maybe we stop reading at Matthew 27:50 when Jesus gives up the ghost on the cross. Or even Matthew 27:66 when Pilate's men sealed the tomb. Pretty depressing. There's a finality in that. One that says, there is no hope. But friends, we know the rest of the story. Matthew 28, the very next chapter, only a few verses following Matthew 27:50, gives the account of the resurrection. And all of this to say, let's take a moment and look at our own lives, our own stories. Are you at a point in your life right now that if it just ended right here, it would be tragic? Are you going through something or have you gone through something that looking back on it now, you think, I am so glad that that wasn't the rest of the story? I say that this morning to tell you, friend, don't give up hope. In Jeremiah 29 verse 10, God is speaking to his people that are in exile. And he says, For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope. Certainly a different audience, but we serve the same God today. Christian, you serve a risen Savior. Thank God for that. And thank God that his death wasn't the rest of the story, that it didn't end right there. And thank goodness that he helps us through those moments in our life where we think, this is it. I'm Daniel Dalp, and these have been some thoughts for your Sunday morning drive. And as Paul Harvey would say, good day. Our discussion question for today is, what are some moments looking back on your life that you thought you couldn't get past? How did God help you through them? And what was the rest of the story?